So you've got to focus on that. And if your mental health isn't in a stable place, how the fuck do you expect your physical health to be in a stable place? You've got to be there mentally to be there physically. They are connected. They work hand in hand. So you've got to focus on that. And I mean, I guess that's what this channel is about. It's a lot about mental health and the thinking through lives. And because, like I said at the start, life is difficult. Like, I find life difficult, and I've got to figure out how I make it easier, how I do the best that I can, how I've got to change how I think about things to be able to live healthily. Thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking on the video. Just want to let you know that I also post on Spotify, so go give it a listen on there if you don't finish the video. And I also post the best bits, do the clips on TikTok, Instagram and Shorts. Check them out. Link is in the description. But yeah, enjoy. Today we're going to keep on with the sort of health topic, and we're going to talk about the top 5 lessons that I've learned in health at 26. And it's a big focus for me, health, because I love feeling healthy and I hate feeling not healthy. I've done a couple of videos, like I said, on the theme of this, and I've talked about how I do find it difficult to live life when I'm not healthy. I do find it difficult because I find life hard anyway. And if I'm unhealthy, I find it even worse. And that's just me. And I learned over time to be okay with that. So to cope with the struggle of life, I try and put myself in the best position I possibly can. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a health nut. I'm not this extremely fit guy, this bodybuilder, this athlete. I'm a sporty person, and I enjoy doing sport, and I enjoy keeping myself healthy and sticking to a diet in some kind of way. I enjoy it. And it's through my own research and through my own experiences that I've learned the 5 lessons that I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about 3 things that I still haven't figured out yet as well. Because there's always things I'm trying to work on. Now, the first one here is pretty obvious, but it is exercise. And we all know, and the obvious one is exercise, because we know we need to do exercise to be healthy. And I've just done a couple of videos about exercise, so go check them out. I talk through exercise in more detail, but exercise is a must for me. I've lived life not doing exercise, and I live life doing exercise. I know which one I prefer. I know when I go through the brief moments of not doing exercise, life gets a bit more complicated slightly. It gets slightly harder. There's this air of laziness, this air of complaining of why me that comes along with not doing exercise. And I don't know what it is, but there is something about moving your body that just changes your day. To me, that changes my life. And I worry when I get old, and I won't be the only one, but I worry if it comes to a time where I can't move. Obviously, the more you move, the longer that inevitable is going to be pushed, unless you get serious injuries. That's why it is so key to look after your health. But the exercises I do, I'll walk you through what I've ended up spending my time doing, because I have very limited time and I want to make the most of the gaps that I have. And if you want to learn and figure out how you get to do more exercise or get to go to the gym, I also done a video on that recently, so go check that one out. It's so useful. But yeah, the exercise I do is 3 times a week I do yoga. And most people don't recognize yoga as sort of a need must in the life. And I never did. But on to the next point, I'll talk about that a little bit more, why yoga for me is essential. And it's a fantastic way of cardio, and it's a fantastic way of improving your strength in ways and muscles you never even knew were there. Monday, well, again, 3 times a week, I go to the gym. And I do a bit of cardio on the stepper for about half an hour to an hour, depending on how much time I've got. And then I'll lift weights. I'll target every part of the body and do whatever splits are needed. People who go to the gym will understand that. And I switch it up of whichever way functions best, whatever machines are open. I might turn up to that day and not follow a certain plan of like every week it's back and biceps, every week on this day it's chest. I do sometimes just turn up and say, how am I feeling today? What do I want to do? And it is just almost entertaining the muscle. Another thing I've learned about exercise is you've got the top of the top. You've got the bodybuilders. You've got the top athletes. And unfortunately, you're not one of them. So you can take the information that they have, but you can't replicate it. I think when I was younger and recently, I've always watched bodybuilders, let's say, in the gym to learn how to put on muscle, to learn on the exercises to do. And it's fantastic for them to teach you what exercises and the data and the information. But it doesn't mean you can do the splits they do so often, because they're living a different life. One, they might not have a job, so they're recovering more. They've got more attention to this, to time things. They've got, let's say, more money to nutritionally have the best of the best. That's a little bit of an excuse because, let's say protein, you can still get your protein, which again, last video I've done on protein and diet and whatnot. And my point is, be careful when you look at these athletes and aspiring to do exactly what they do, because your situation can be different. And I'm talking from my work a 9 to 5. So my work, I do physical work all day and then I go and do exercise. It's a different sort of strain on your body that you've got to be careful of. So bear that in mind. That's a lesson I've learned, that you are probably doing enough. When it comes to 3 workouts a week, plus the yoga on top, you are doing enough. Figure that out, because this comes on to my next point. After talking about the exercise that I do, that's the majority of it. I might chuck in a day here, I might take a day away, depending on what I've got on. I might chuck in a run every now and again. But that is the majority. I focus on building strength, cardio, and then on to this point of stretching. Because I learned the lesson the fucking hard way. After being told over many years, you need to stretch. Listening to the advice of that you need to stretch. But you can't be bothered to stretch. You might not even know what you're doing when you're stretching. But my story is, I got injured. I had a back injury. I was unable to walk for a short period of time, and I spent loads of money on trying to fix the problem, which I could have just fixed from stretching, from moving my body in ways that you're not used to, that aren't so linear when it comes to, let's say, lifting weights, that is more functional. And that's what yoga does. Yoga really uses parts of your body that stiffen up. It uses parts of your body that don't get the attention, that have the side effects from lifting these heavy weights that you don't realize. And everyone banged on about it to me about stretching. And I say, fuck that, I don't need to stretch. I never stretch. I'm not a flexible person anyway, so why do I need to stretch? When you do all this work, when you lift all these heavy weights, when you put all this strain on your body, you're forgetting that there is a side effect, there is a consequence, your body is adjusting to what you're doing. And you've got to put it back in to its natural position. You've got to compensate for it. And that's what stretching does for me. So I do yoga, obviously taught by the teachers. We haven't done it on our own yet, but that ensures I sort of over the course of time hit everything. And then I do my own individual stretching. I might spice it up, pretty much do what I feel like doing, because some days you turn up and your body feels okay in one position but not in the other position. And I learned that a lot through having a massage. When I get massaged into certain areas and I'm like, fuck, that is painful, that's how tight you actually are. And when you have those experiences, you realize what you're missing out on. You realize what you're not focusing on. And a lot of my tightness, a lot of the places I need stretching are in the shoulders, are in the hips, in the quads, hamstrings. It's a lot of that. And I'd recommend anyone to start yoga if they've never thought about it, if they've never even heard about the effects of yoga. Because originally I thought what most people think. Yoga is for people who want to be at peace, or it's a peaceful exercise. I couldn't have been further from the truth, especially in the Western world. It might be a bit different when you get to India and whatnot. They sort of have a different practice. But over here, I'm talking you're going to be dying. You're going to be struggling. And people don't, I think until you do it, you don't understand the struggle of it. You don't understand how hard it actually is, especially if your body was in a position like mine. And you also don't realize how tight you are until you start stretching, until you start focusing on loosening your body up. That's another thing with me. If I stop, if I don't pay attention to it, over time I will start getting negative effects because I'm not stretching. And the third thing we're going to talk about, which is important, is diet. And like I said, I've just done a video mainly on this, so I'll just briefly brush over this one. But I follow an animal-based diet. Paul Saladino is the fella that I watch and take my information from. And I've been on that diet for 4 years. And it's eating animal products. It's animal-based, so it's fruit, it's meat, it's dairy. And I have one bit of grain set in to test at the moment, and to sort of test through carbs, which I've obviously explained in more detail in the video I last filmed. But that's the diet I have to hit the protein, to feel good, because I used to get ill all the time. I was ill about 10 times in a year, which is ridiculous. I'm talking cold and flu-like symptoms that just knock you down and just make your days shit. It's like not big enough to put you in the hospital, but it's enough to make you feel like shit constantly and to interrupt your momentum. And momentum is so important. And that's, to me, what a diet does. It keeps you going. It keeps you structured. It keeps you on a path of health, in feeling great. People don't realize, I mean, this is this specific diet that I'm talking about, how your energy levels differ compared to what you eat. The fuel you put in your body is so important to function that you have to, if you want to care about your health, you have to focus on what you eat. And now whether it's this diet or you choose another diet, it's about figuring it out. It's about finding what's best for you. And luckily I found what's best for me and I love it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not strict as hell. There'll be weekends where I don't stick to it, where I'll go out and I'll have a pizza, I'll have a dessert or a bag of crisps or something like that. And I've just gone through a phase where I was really bad when it came to sugar. I'd fell off basically, off the diet pretty much. The main sort of eating was the diet, but I would be but I would be slotting in these bad sugary foods. And I believe it is an addiction to sugar, which I filmed again, I think 2 or 3 videos ago. a video on how I overcame the addiction of sugar, because I think it's a serious one when it comes to dieting, because there are so many good foods out there that it is hard to stick to it. But I think it's a pretty obvious one that we all know that we have to, if we want to care about our health, you've got to think of a diet in some way. So we'll move on to the next lesson, which is sleep. And I must admit, I've not mastered this one yet, but I know for a fact with this one that it is one of the fundamentals of your health, of your life. You have to get sleep to function correctly. I know I do. It's a huge factor, and I don't master it because my days are so packed and so busy. And again, I enjoy life so much. I want to pack it full of everything, fill it full of all the joys in the world. I want to be able to go to the gym during the week and have to walk the dogs, and then you get home and all you're doing is going to sleep. But you might want to sit there and chill for a bit. So for me, I go to sleep around 10 o'clock and wake up at 5. So 7 hours. And to be fair, I'm undecided whether that is enough for me, because I'm always feeling tired, but if I've got a late night somewhere else, it might be me catching up. So 7, if I did 7 consistently every night, I'd probably be fine. But some nights I get less and get more, and stay up later on the weekends every now and again and whatnot. And that's just how life is. Again, I could improve on it, and I don't focus on it too much, but I probably should do. But sleep is important for recovery. Sleep, we all know we need sleep. And I always think about recovery. How can I recover faster so I can do more? And the answer is sleep. Get great sleep. Because there is no other way to maximize your recovery. And the thing with it is it's so simple yet so hard. And also the other thing with sleep is you might get 7 hours, but it doesn't mean you're gonna get the 7 hours of best sleep. And some of the things I do is I take 2 tablets of magnesium. I don't know the measurements, but I know it's the correct amount. And I know there's a difference when I don't take it to when I take it. I get such a better, deeper sleep when I take it. And me, I fall asleep within about a minute of putting my head on that pillow. I fall asleep pretty quickly. And my method is I put a nose strip on so I can breathe through my nose. I put mouth tape on with a little hole in the middle so I can breathe in emergencies. But it forces me to breathe through my nose, which you get more oxygen. You've got a better recovery. It's just all round better. And then I put earplugs in, because if it's all silent, it's a winner for me. I'm absolutely smashing it. And then I slap an eye mask on. And these things I never used to be able to do, because I thought, I can't sleep with something on my face, something in my ears. I can't do it. But I got used to it. And like I said, I fall asleep within a minute. Try all those things if you are struggling to sleep. Because for me, they change the game, especially when I don't get a lot of it. The final thing is mental affects your physical. And people don't correlate this. People don't understand this or even look at it and factor it in. But it is the truth. Your mental health, what's going on inside your head, really and truly does affect your physical body. All the trauma that you're holding, all that pent-up anger, all the problems you haven't solved in your life that you've gone through, that stay inside on your chest, that affect you every day, that affects your body. It tightens you up. It blocks things up. And it's a funny one to talk about because you don't actually know properly. But for me, I know, because I used to go through it. If you watched my older videos, and I've explained how my life has been. And I'll tell you, once I've got over the trauma, once I've got over the blockage and the serious pain in life, your body is less tense, you're less stressed, it is better for your health. And there are studies out there that show that your pent up stuff, the things you keep inside, do lead to negative health effects. So you've got to focus on that. And if your mental health isn't in a stable place, how the fuck do you expect your physical health to be in a stable place? You've got to be there mentally to be there physically. They are connected. They work hand in hand. So you've got to focus on that. And I mean, I guess that's what this channel is about. It's a lot about mental health and the thinking through lives. And because, like I said at the start, life is difficult. Like, I find life difficult, and I've got to figure out how I make it easier, how I do the best that I can, how I've got to change how I think about things to be able to live healthily. And then we're going to move on to the last 3 things I think I can improve on that I have not figured out yet. And it's tightness, functional strength, and breath. And I talk about stretching because stretching loosens me up, but I've still not fully figured that one out because I am tight in certain areas. And I'm still learning about that, learning about how that actually affects me. How it does cause little nags and injuries and stuff like that. And then we move on to functional strength because I think it's connected. It's these moments when you lift something heavy and you turn and you feel that twinge in your back. I haven't figured that out. There are certain small little muscles that I feel that I might pull slightly. And there's not this functional movement. I've looked into kettlebells and stuff like that, but I've not fully got into all that. And that's sort of where my next training is going, is into functional strength and still building muscle. Because I think one thing I've learned is when it comes to building muscle, the bodybuilder style workouts, is it does stiffen you up. It is a restricted movement, obviously, that's efficient to build the muscle, but it does block you up in a sense. So functional strength is something I'm trying to figure out. And then breath. See, I used to meditate all the time, and I sort of stopped. And that, in my life, to be able to control my breath is to be able to control my emotions and calm myself down and calm my body down. If I'm all tense, like I'm talking about, you need to breathe. And then talking about breath, it's talking about introducing more oxygen into your body. And through yoga is a big one with breath, which again, I haven't mastered the breath in it. We as a Western society and culture sort of use it as a functional exercise for the body. Whereas you look at places like India, they focus a lot on breath. And I know with different techniques I've used in life, how breath can be useful. Through meditation, it is just finding the time. And I know it's one of those things that improves my health, improves my life. And it's just trying to figure out how to slot it into the routine, how to figure it out, how to actually want to do these 3 things to affect the change. And that's the thing with health. It's a long-term thing, and it's a process of adding little things over time. Don't think you're going to become this major athlete, this men's health advocate for perfection overnight. I've been working through sport and exercise and whatnot for years, all my life pretty much, of doing exercise. And now as I'm older, trying to figure things out, and you come across roadblocks and hurdles that teach you certain things. So give yourself a little bit of grace that you don't have to have it figured out right fucking now. But yeah, if anyone can help me in the comments, mention certain things about the three things I need to improve on, that'd be fucking great. A little bit more knowledge, people to check out and whatnot. But yeah, thanks. Peace.